Anna Scionti, welcome to Australian Musician.
Thank you, thanks for having me here. Yeah.
Before we talk about your new album, Orphan Diary, I wanted to go way back, talking about growing up in East Gippsland.
Yeah.
Where do you find the blues in East Gippsland?
That's an interesting one. Yeah, I grew up in a little town called Bairnsdale, and I don't know, for me, I had hung out on the streets there. My parents worked 7 days a week in a delicatessen. And so I had a very lucky childhood in that, you know, I could kind of hang around with my friends and do whatever. They were always at work. For me, it all started in high school. I joined the high school band and played drums, actually. Drums were my first instrument. And then probably around 14 or 15, then picked up a guitar. And a bit of bass as well. And from there I've got a collection and an eclectic mix, I think, of musical styles, I guess. Blues is kind of the base of it, but I don't know where I found it. I just did. Yeah.
What were some of the key albums that got you through the teenage years?
Wow. You know, I was pretty lucky. My brother and sister they're older than me. They're 10 years and 8 years older than me, and so I got to spin their vinyl, actually. I was, you know, quite young and, you know, I'd be playing stuff like ELO and Supertramp, and my brother introduced me to JJ Cale, and that was just incredible. Susie Quattro, I'm showing my age a little bit here, or an eclectic mix of stuff. And for me, I guess I love the songwriters. Crowded House was a big one for me. Ricky Lee Jones, a whole collection of I guess I don't know, quite a versatile mix, and I've come right back to the blues, I guess, because now I'm still discovering incredible old, you know, blues artists that kind of influence my music, I guess. Yeah.
Have you made the trip to the south?
2016, I went to Memphis, and lucky enough, I was went over there to play in the International Blues Challenge, and that was down on Beale Street. They had over 200 different acts from around the world, and I was there representing Melbourne as part of my blues duo Miss Whiskey, and that was an incredible time. From that it did something to me. It, you know, ignited a little bit of a spark, I think. I don't know. That was an incredible time. Yeah.
Do you recall hearing or seeing someone play a cigar-box guitar for the first time?
Oh, wow. I guess for me, Fiona Boyce has been a big influence. Obviously, one of Australia's leading blues women, and, you know, she's got a couple of albums out now that have been mostly cigar-box guitar. So that is probably the beginning. When I went to Memphis, I bought my first cigar-box guitar there, and it's a 3-string cigar-box guitar made in Memphis by Johnny Lobo. He's a Memphis man who's quite an eccentric dude, and that's the first one I brought home. And then from there, I've got probably about 10 different cigar-box guitars now. Yeah.
You've just released your debut album.
Yes.
Orphan Diary. Tell me about the title.
Well, you talk about where the blues comes from. I guess we've all got our stories, but for me, my father died when I was 13, so I was quite young, and then my mum died when I was 18. So the album's quite personal. I don't know if you've heard it yet, but there's some songs there that have taken me right back to my youth, and talk about, you know, leaving Bairnsdale and coming to the city, and so there's some deep, I guess, songs there. There's also some very happy songs on there, so it's not just a downer album, but it's kind of a collection of songs. A little diary of across the years, basically.
So over what period of time were the songs written?
Well, most of the songs have probably only been written in the last 2 years, really, 2 to 3 years. Pocket Full of Love is one of the first songs that I wrote for this album, which inspired the album, I guess, which is about my family, and that was probably written, that's probably close to 4, maybe 5 years ago, but from there, that's where kind of the album's kind of come from, although I have released an EP before that. So, yeah. So.
Your father was Italian. You went back home to his village in Sicily.
Yeah.
Did they like the blues in Sicily?
You know, I've met some Italian blues bands, and I think they do, yeah. Even in Memphis, I met a band that were from Italy. And recently I was at the National Folk Festival, and there was an Italian band there. Now they weren't playing traditional blues, but it's amazing the eclectic mix of music that comes out of each country, really. And I think music is like that. You either like it or you don't, and you play it regardless of what nationality or culture you come from, yeah.
What kind of things did you learn from recording your EP that you took into making the album?
I think being organised. You think you're organised, but there's always something, and often it takes longer than you think. So I probably took the break off this one. I wanted to get it out probably early or late last year, but at the same point I didn't want to put that kind of pressure on myself, so which is why it's only come out last week. It's come out on the 1st of May, so it's very fresh. And I'm kind of glad I did that, yeah, with regard to, because it's a lot of work with regard to gathering the artwork, choosing the songs, doing the recording, and ensuring you're happy with it and having a good listen, yeah.
The album has a very fat guitar sound.
Mm-hmm.
How did you go about achieving that?
Look, I normally use 2 or 3 amps when I record, and so this has got my Rex Musket, so a little kind of amp, as well as my Moody's GA40, which has they're both Australian vintage amps, and I love my old amps. So they're both on there, they're on all the guitar tracks kind of stereoed. I do use a little bit of overdrive and tremolo and reverb and delay, and that's probably about it. I'm not big on the pedals, I just have a small kind of range, but I certainly like a little bit more, yeah, so that's kind of how it happened, yeah.
Let's get more into the gear. First question, your first guitar, what was that?
Wow. First electric or acoustic? We'll go first electric, yeah. Because my first electric was a Ibanez Blazer series, which I swapped with a friend, and I think for a ghetto blaster or something like that, you know. And it's beautiful, all natural. I've still got it actually, still hidden away, and every now and again I pick it up and play it and think, oh, it's nice. But that was my first, and then the second is on the front cover of the album Orphan Diary, which is a Gibson Melody Maker. So there come a point in my 20s where I thought, the boys can't have all the fun, you know, I want to play electric, and yeah, so I did, yeah.
And then at some point you become almost obsessed, I suppose, with cigar-box guitars.
Yes.
Let's talk about some of your cigar-box guitars.
Yeah. Well, as I said, the first one I bought in Memphis, and then the next one I bought is from New South Wales, which is this Buzzbox guitar here. So with this one, I saw a video of it on YouTube actually, and then thought, I like the sound of that, so yeah, I put it on eBay, and it arrived, and it's kind of goes with me everywhere now. It's got quite a fat sound. It's just got a little humbucker in it. It's a 4-string. I have it tuned to G, and yeah, just a handmade instrument from New South Wales. It's on 2 songs on the album, and on the EP it's on a couple of songs on there as well. Yeah. So this is kind of the second one. And then they've kind of grown from there. I'll tell you about this little one. This is a lap steel actually, a little 6-stringer, and this is from Chuff Guitars. They're from Ballarat, and I've very luckily been given a few of his guitars. This one's named Arky, and named after my pooch. So, but yeah, this one's all handmade, made out of like 100-year-old floorboards actually. And it's what I love about them is that they're all individual. I love the fact that they're handmade, and I love all the local makers and stuff, yeah. And I'll tell you about this little baby. It's a little 3-stringer. This is Avocet, and they're from South Gippsland, so another local maker. This is fairly new actually. I got this at the National Folk Festival when I was up there. So I haven't had a great deal of play on this. But it's made out of an actual cigar-box guitar. Handmade neck and just with a little pickup in there. I like them all electric. You can obviously get some acoustic ones, but for me, I like to plug them in, yeah.
Let's talk about your stage rig.
Yeah, so I love my vintage amps, and I used to take a vintage amp everywhere until I blew it up twice at a couple of different gigs, and then I thought I need something that's going to be a little bit more robust. So I've actually got a Sherlock amp, a Dale Sherlock amp, which has got one 12-inch and just reverb basically. I got to hand pick my colour, so it's white with a gold kind of front on it, which I love. Yeah, so I take that, and then I've just got a pedal board which has just got generally tremolo, some overdrive and delay. I use the reverb on the amp. I like to kind of do that, and often my shows I'll have, you know, at least probably 2, 3, sometimes 4 guitars, which will be a mix of my electric as well as my Cigar-Box guitars, yeah.
You're a bit of an amp collector. How did that start, and where are you at now?
Yeah, well, I do. I've got a collection of vintage amps, and if you look at the cover of my first EP, they're all my amps that are on there. There's a wall of amps, which, yeah, it started one day I was going to rehearsal. I had a little, another duo with a drummer, and I saw this amp in the trading post, actually. We're going back a little bit, and it was a golden tone, and I'm like, we need to go and get this. So we ditched the rehearsal and took off to Frankston, actually, and yeah, that was my first vintage Australian amp. It's a golden tone stack with a head. It's got reverb and tremolo, and it's just beautiful. And then from there, it just continued on. I kept buying, I've got a little Rex Musket, which played on both albums, actually, and a collection of other golden tones, and a Moody amp. Well, my Moody is on the front cover of Orphan Diary as well. So yeah, I don't know, they just seem to grow. I get a little bit obsessed with things, yeah.
You're playing our Melbourne Guitar Show in August. Have you been to the show before or heard much about it?
Yeah, I haven't actually been, but I've certainly heard about it, and I've had it on my list to get there, and I'm so looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking out all the guitars, all the pedals, everything that's new. Yeah, and certainly hearing some other artists. I certainly know I've kept an eye on it over the last couple of years, and just haven't quite got there, so I'm very honoured to be there this year, yeah.
Apart from the guitar show, what else have you got coming up for
the
rest of the year?
I've got a couple of other festivals coming up. The Ballarat Blues Festival, it's the first time that's happening this year. Echuca Blues Festival. Another big one I'm going to in August is the Gympie Music Muster. So I've got a bit of an eclectic mix of stuff going on, which is great, yeah.
What's the grand plan for Anna Scionti?
Ooh. Oh, look, for me it's about the songs and writing the music and being able to put out my music. And I feel very privileged when I have an audience who, you know, a listening audience who, yeah, are very positive about it. It's, you know, it's a scary thing sometimes, putting your music out and playing all that original stuff. So for me, it'll be, I've already got a couple of albums planned and lots of new material. So it's about, yeah, getting back in that studio and doing the next one, yeah. So it's great.
Anna Scionti, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Okay.